first, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now. I appreciate you joining. I always say this, but I mean it. Wherever you found us, make a bookmark on that. Remember to come back there. We're live every weekday at 1 p.m. And then throughout that hour, bringing you a lot of different things. Sometimes it's interviews. Sometimes we're talking to actually experts and officials in certain categories. And that's what we're doing today, because wildfires are certainly something we're all well aware of here in the Northwest. And there are some ways that you can actually be more preventative in keeping your house safe, keeping your space safe. That's what we're going to be discussing right now. I'm not the expert. We have the expert with us. That is Allison Green, who's joining us right now from the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office. And Allison, really appreciate you taking some time, because this is so important. And I want to talk about the basic preventative measures and then the new program that you have out. But I guess to start off, how much should we be worrying about wildfires right now?
Well, it is June. Wildfire season is here in in Oregon. So it is one of these things where we have this seasonal shift. This is the first day of summer, after all. We're about to see some longer, hotter days, maybe a break in the rain. And so it's time for all of Oregon to make sure that we're ready for the next few months. That fire season is here. It has arrived. Now we just have to make sure that we're as prepared as possible to get through fire season.
And that's the thing. I mean, it's not like we haven't ever had wildfires here, but it does feel like over the last several years, it's just become more and more, or at least there's a lot more awareness of what it is. Probably 2020 helped with that for a lot of people on being well aware. But, going for that, for what each individual can do, where should we start as far as being aware and prepared?
So this is the thing, right? We have everybody that is either used to fire season, it's a new impact, or if folks are really brand new to Oregon, right? Oregon's population is growing. The more that we are prepared for fire season, there's kind of small actions we can do to prepare for something that may feel as daunting as fire season. There's a way to make sure that we're prepared for that. And so at the end of the day, taking those small steps in your yard to create what's called defensible space. It has nothing to do with football. Sorry to disappoint anybody, but this is something that folks can do in their yard. It is a buffer, and it's not a moonscape, right? We're allowed to have trees, we're allowed to have plants, but
Right.
It's the space around your home, your business, anything that you really care about in your yard that's a built structure, that you can do around those structures to really prevent fire from reaching it and prevent embers from large wildfires from igniting your home, your deck, your shed, your shop, whatever it may be.
And look at that. Sorry, I had a little technical difficulty there as we're broadcasting live. But taking a look at some of these different things that people can do too, especially with their house. And I've got some examples here. Mentioning the gutters. This is something. Honestly, I'm going to admit I have not been the best at this, at keeping that clean. But how important is that?
That is something that every spring it should be first thing on your list. And this is like a once a year kind of thing. We don't expect people's gutters and roofs to be pristine and clean the whole year. But this is really leading into fire season. Think that gutter is the kind of transport into the underlayment of your roof, right? Because underneath your roof, whether it's asphalt shingles, it's tile, it's metal, whatever it may be, there's wood underneath it. And so those gutters are critical key to success. And so making sure every spring we go in, we clean out the leaves, we clean out any conifer needles, whether you got spruce, pine, insert whatever evergreen. Once a year, that should be done well ahead of fire season. So May is typically when we target folks to do that.
Okay. And even if they didn't do it in May, now is a good time to do it, I would imagine. Make sure that's
now
done.
is a great time to do it. Yes, don't do it when it's icy, please.
Yeah, right. I've tried that before. That was not good for me. No. But so just thinking about these things, and making sure that it's on the top of our mind is just so important. And going back to the website, just to talk a little bit more about that, because there's so much valuable information on there. I was scrolling through it. I think it's a great way to just educate, just doing exactly what you're doing right now. But let's hit that just again to let people know what is on there, what they can go through.
Absolutely. So OregonDefensiblespace.org is the site. And so the whole idea behind this, right, is it is a landing page. It's a one-stop shop for folks to start this education process, right? For folks that either are, well versed in defensible space or folks that are brand new, I'm hoping there's something there for everybody. We also recognize that Oregon, of course, is not a monolith. There are local programs that meet local needs, but at the end of the day, those local programs are not statewide, where this takes a lot of those best practices that are applicable to everybody in Oregon and puts it in one spot where folks can find it, they can access it, and really start preparing their house or even their business for wildfire season.
I love it. It really is. Oops, that one's no good. But I really love though how much information is truly on there, and like you said, all in one space. And one of the other things I noticed too is that you can get an assessment or somehow connect with your local fire agency. Can you tell about that?
Absolutely. So not only, right, there's a lot of folks that are going to be do-it-yourselfers. There's going to be folks that want to kind of choose your own adventure when it comes to defensible space, and that's great. There is an option on there for folks that might be unsure, that might want a professional opinion for defensible space in your yard, right? Because it's a customizable thing for each and every yard. Having a fire professional come out and take a walk is an option. So on that front page, there's an option to hit schedule an assessment. It will take you to a map where then once you put in your address, it will connect you with either your local fire service agency or somebody from Oregon State Fire Marshal to come and take a walk on your property with you and give you those tailored recommendations to make sure you're as safe as possible.
I love that. That is great to and probably, not only for protecting your property, but also just to get to know your local agency, be familiar with it, should anything come up. What are some other, and I know this is all on the website, but just since we're talking to people right now, what are some other things that maybe they should be looking out for or concerned with this time of year?
I would say this time of year, gutters one, right? We already talked about that, but that is number one. Yep.
Gutters.
Number two, yeah. I would say number two is making sure that we are making sure all of our plants are healthy. So any of that dead material that you haven't quite gotten to yet, get that out of the plants. Healthy green plants that are well trimmed, they are not as much of a concern as the dead material that collects in that green vegetation. Also, limbing our trees, which essentially is cutting off any low-hanging branches to really create a good separation between our tall, healthy trees and the plants that may be underneath them. And so just creating that separation, we don't need lollipop trees, but kind of either the first row or the second row of those limbs to make sure that they are not touching the ground or the plants underneath can really separate essentially the plants and make it less intense if a fire is to start, or make it so it can't even start at all in our yard.
That's, again, great suggestions and things to know about. And, with fireworks, unfortunately, fireworks are going to be used in neighborhoods, whether they're legal or not. So what are some things, looking at that with July 4th coming up, are there any kind of preventative things other than everything you've just mentioned, making sure that you're which is a lot, anything specific for that time of season that people should be doing?
It is Independence Day is upon us. It's coming. Whether anybody is willing to admit that we're almost halfway through 2023, I know I'm not willing to admit that quite yet. But 4th of July is coming. And so what we really ask folks to do is not only the prevention aspect, which I'll touch on in a minute, but making sure that you are using legal fireworks. In Oregon, we do have some fireworks that are illegal. So make sure you're buying from a permitted place, whether it's one that pops up in the parking lot just for 4th of July, whether it's a local retailer, right? Making sure those local fireworks are used. And then if you're celebrating with fireworks, make sure that you have water nearby, make sure you don't relight a dud, and that for any teenagers or folks like that, make sure you have an adult who is doing that, and that we don't have kiddos trying to light fireworks. Because at the end of the day, those ones that are illegal in Oregon, they are a fire risk. And if you are concerned about the fire risk, there's amazing professional shows and displays that folks can go see. We recommend watching those as well if you're concerned about fire risk.
That's a great idea right there. The last, yeah, that we definitely don't want any more fires from fireworks. So be
We don't
careful
need
out there,
to
everybody.
at all.
We don't need that. Well, Allison, thank you very much for taking some time to talk to us about this and just what you've done here to put this all in one space, one website where people can go and learn all the information for themselves and get connected with their local people. I think that's great and such a good use of that opportunity. So appreciate you joining us here to talk about this. Any other final recommendations or things that you want people to know about?
I would say when folks start down this journey, and I'm so glad that it's up, I'm glad folks can access it. Do one small thing if you feel yourself getting overwhelmed, right? It doesn't have to all be done in a weekend, all in a day. Just spend a couple hours, right? If your one defensible space project is gutters, great, just do the gutters. If your one project is, trimming your brush that's next to the house, great. Don't worry about getting it all done. Just a little bit at a time will get you to that end goal. And don't get overwhelmed. Just one small step at a time.
Just chip away at it. That's very good advice. Well, Allison, appreciate it. Thanks for being here, and really appreciate you being here on Fox 12 Now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, there we go. We just learned a lot, and that website really is fantastic. So go there, check that out, and find out more about what you can be doing to make sure that your space is safe. And thanks for tuning in to Fox 12 Now. I also appreciate that. I am Greg Nibbler. We're live here every weekday at 1 p.m. Pacific. You can watch all of our videos on our YouTube page, Fox 12 Oregon. Just go into that live section, and you can check out all the interviews that we get to have. It's a lot of really interesting stuff that we get to talk about each week. Sometimes it's educational, sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's, it's all over the board. It's a lot of different things that we get to cover here. We get to have these longer interviews and deeper dives. And if you have a recommendation, send that in, fox12now@kptv.com, something you want to learn more about, somebody you think should be interviewed, something you think might make a good segment. Let me know what that is, so send that in. For right now, though, I'm signing off. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.